They thought she was an easy target. They were wrong. This is the story of how one girl fought back against her bullies, and what happened when her Army captain father stepped in. From which country are you enjoying this story? Please make sure to tell us in the comments. And if you've ever faced a bully, you'll want to see how this ends. Hit subscribe, because this story isn't over yet.
The final bell rang at Ridgewood High, a sound that usually brought Maya Carter relief. But today, it only tightened the knot in her stomach. She took her time packing her bag, deliberately slow, hoping the hallway would empty before she had to leave. Across the room, Jessica Lockwood and her friends were huddled together, their laughter sharp and pointed. Maya didn't need to hear the words to know she was the punchline. She adjusted the straps of her backpack, worn from years of use, and headed for the door. The walk to her locker was a gauntlet. Eyes followed her. Whispers slithered through the air. She kept her head down, her fingers gripping the strap tighter. Jessica's voice cut through the noise before Maya even reached her locker. "Look who's finally leaving her hiding spot." Maya ignored her, twisting the combination lock with practiced ease. The metal door creaked open. "Wow, ignoring me now?" Jessica stepped closer, her perfume overpowering. Something expensive and floral. "Guess that's what happens when you think you're too good for this school." Maya shoved her history book into her bag. "I don't think about you at all, Jessica." A hush fell over the nearby students. No one talked back to Jessica. No one. Jessica's smile twitched. She reached out and flicked Maya's backpack. "Oops. Didn't see that there." The bag slipped from Maya's shoulder, hitting the floor with a thud. Papers spilled out. A chorus of giggles rippled around them. Maya exhaled slowly. She bent down to gather her things, her fingers trembling just slightly. She could feel them watching, waiting for her to react. Jessica's shoe came down on top of her math homework, pinning it to the floor. "You need this." Maya looked up at her. Jessica's grin was wide, her eyes bright with amusement. She was enjoying this. Something inside Maya snapped. She stood up slowly, her hands empty. "Move your foot." Jessica blinked. "Or what?" Maya didn't answer. She reached down, gripped Jessica's ankle, and yanked. Jessica shrieked as her balance gave out. She crashed into the lockers behind her, her friends scrambling to catch her. The hallway erupted. Gasps, shouts, someone laughing nervously. Jessica's face flushed red. She shoved off the lockers, her perfectly styled hair now mussed. "You're dead, Maya." She lunged. Maya sidestepped, but Jessica's nails caught her arm, leaving thin red lines. Pain flared, sharp and sudden. The crowd around them pressed closer, phones out, recording. Jessica swung again. This time, Maya didn't dodge. Her fist connected with Jessica's jaw. The impact sent a jolt up her arm. Jessica staggered back, her hands flying to her face. The hallway went silent. Then chaos erupted. Teachers pushed through the crowd, shouting for order. Someone grabbed Maya's arm, pulling her away. Jessica was sobbing now, dramatic and loud, her friends flocking around her like she'd been shot. Maya didn't resist as she was dragged to the principal's office. Her knuckles throbbed. Her heart pounded. But for the first time in months, she didn't feel afraid. She sat in the stiff chair outside Principal Higgins' office, listening to Jessica's exaggerated retelling of events through the door. "Just attacked me out of nowhere. I didn't even do anything." Maya closed her eyes. She knew how this would go. Jessica's family donated to the school. Her father played golf with the superintendent. Maya was the scholarship kid with no connections, no one to back her up. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out. A text from her aunt. Asterisk, "Everything okay? You're late." Asterisk. Maya hesitated. Then she opened her contacts. Her thumb hovered over her father's name. Captain Elijah Carter hadn't been home in 8 months. The last time they'd spoken, he'd been somewhere in the Middle East, the sound of distant gunfire crackling through the phone. He'd told her to stay strong, to keep her head down. But she was tired of keeping her head down. She pressed call. It rang once, twice. Then his voice, rough but steady. "Maya!" Something in her chest cracked open. "Dad!" she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I need you." The fluorescent lights in Principal Higgins' office buzzed softly, casting a sterile glow over the room. Maya sat with her hands folded in her lap, her fingers tracing the fresh scratches on her arm. The clock on the wall ticked loudly, each second stretching longer than the last. Principal Higgins leaned back in his chair, his fingers steepled. He was a tall man with thinning hair and a permanent frown, the kind of person who looked like he'd been born middle-aged. "Maya," he said, his voice carefully neutral, "I've heard Jessica's side of the story. Now I'd like to hear yours." Maya opened her mouth, but before she could speak, the door flew open. Jessica's father, Mr. Lockwood, stormed in, his face flushed. He was a broad-shouldered man in an expensive suit, his cufflinks glinting under the lights. "What the hell is going on here?" His voice boomed, filling the small room. Principal Higgins stood quickly. "Mr. Lockwood, please. My daughter is in the nurse's office because of this girl," he snapped, jabbing a finger in Maya's direction. "I want her expelled. Today." Maya's stomach twisted. She knew this would happen. The Lockwoods had money, influence. They didn't lose. Principal Higgins cleared his throat. "We're still gathering all the facts." "The facts are simple," Mr. Lockwood interrupted. "She assaulted my daughter. I've already called the school board. If you don't handle this, I will." Maya clenched her fists. "She started it," she said quietly. Mr. Lockwood turned to her, his eyes cold. "Excuse me." Maya lifted her chin. "Jessica tripped me. She's been doing stuff like that for months." "You expect anyone to believe that?" Mr. Lockwood scoffed. "Jessica's an honors student, a leader. And you," he looked her up and down, his lip curling slightly, "you're just looking for attention." The door creaked open again. All heads turned. A man stood in the doorway, his posture straight, his expression unreadable. He wore a plain green jacket, the kind soldiers wore off duty, and his boots were scuffed but clean. His dark eyes swept the room before landing on Maya. Captain Elijah Carter had arrived. The air in the office shifted. Principal Higgins blinked. "Can I help you?" Captain Carter stepped inside, closing the door behind him. "I'm Maya's father." His voice was calm, but there was something beneath it, a quiet intensity that made the hairs on the back of Maya's neck stand up. Mr. Lockwood recovered first. "Good. You can take your daughter home while we process her expulsion." Captain Carter didn't even glance at him. He looked at Maya. "You okay?" Maya nodded, her throat tight. Only then did her father turn to Principal Higgins. "I'd like to see the security footage." Principal Higgins hesitated. "That's not standard procedure." "It is if you're accusing my daughter of assault," Captain Carter said. His tone was polite, but there was no room for argument. Mr. Lockwood crossed his arms. "This is ridiculous. We don't need footage to know what happened." Captain Carter finally looked at him. "If your daughter's telling the truth, you have nothing to worry about." The two men stared at each other, the tension in the room thickening. Principal Higgins sighed. "Fine. I'll pull the hallway footage." The security room was small and cramped, the walls lined with monitors showing different corners of the school. The janitor, a tired-looking man named Roy, fast-forwarded through the recordings until he found the right timestamp. Maya watched as the grainy black and white footage played out on the screen. There she was, walking to her locker. Jessica stepping into frame. The nudge. The fall. The moment Maya had finally fought back. The video didn't have sound, but it didn't need it. The truth was clear. Mr. Lockwood's face darkened. "This doesn't prove anything." Jessica barely touched her. Captain Carter didn't respond. He kept his eyes on the screen, watching as Jessica lunged at Maya, nails first. Principal Higgins shifted uncomfortably. "Well, it seems there was provocation." "Provocation?" Mr. Lockwood spat. "She hit my daughter." "And your daughter instigated it," Captain Carter said. He turned to Principal Higgins. "What's the school's policy on bullying?" Principal Higgins hesitated. "We have a zero-tolerance policy, but..." "But what?" Captain Carter's voice was still calm, but something in it had sharpened. "But it only applies to certain students?" Mr. Lockwood stepped forward. "Listen here." "No," Captain Carter said, cutting him off. "You listen. Your daughter has been harassing mine for months. Today she escalated it. And if the school won't handle it, I will." The threat in his words was unmistakable. Mr. Lockwood opened his mouth, then closed it. For the first time, he seemed to realize who he was dealing with. Principal Higgins cleared his throat. "I think it would be best if we all took a step back. Jessica will receive detention for instigating the altercation. Maya, given the circumstances, won't be penalized for defending herself." Mr. Lockwood's face turned purple. "You can't be serious." "That's my final decision," Principal Higgins said firmly. Captain Carter nodded. "Good." He looked at Maya. "Ready to go?" Maya stood, her legs shaky. She followed her father out of the office, the weight on her chest finally lifting. But as they walked down the empty hallway, Captain Carter spoke again, his voice low. "This isn't over." Maya glanced at him. "What do you mean?" Her father's jaw tightened. "People like the Lockwoods don't back down easily. They'll try something else." Maya swallowed. "So what do we do?" Captain Carter stopped walking and turned to her. "We make sure they regret it." The ride home from school was quiet. Maya stared out the window of her father's truck, watching the familiar streets pass by in a blur. The adrenaline from earlier had faded, leaving her exhausted. Her knuckles still ached where they'd connected with Jessica's jaw. Captain Carter kept his eyes on the road, his grip steady on the wheel. He hadn't said much since they left the principal's office, but Maya could feel the tension radiating off him. It wasn't anger. Not at her, anyway. It was something deeper, something simmering. "You should have told me," he said finally, breaking the silence. Maya picked at a loose thread on her jeans. "I didn't want to bother you. You were deployed and nothing." His voice was firm but not unkind. "You're my daughter. There's nothing more important than that." Maya swallowed hard. She'd spent so long trying to be strong, trying not to add to his burdens. But now, sitting next to him, she realized how much weight she'd been carrying alone. "It wasn't just today," she admitted quietly. "It's been going on since I started at Ridgewood." Captain Carter's jaw tightened, but he didn't interrupt. Maya took a shaky breath and told him everything. The whispered insults, the accidental shoves in the hallway, the way Jessica and her friends had made sure she always felt like an outsider. She told him about the time they dumped her lunch tray on the floor, laughing as she cleaned it up. About the notes left in her locker, the ones that said things like asterisk, "Go back where you came from," asterisk. By the time she finished, her hands were trembling. Captain Carter pulled the truck over to the side of the road and turned to her. His eyes were dark, unreadable. "Look at me." Maya did. "You don't ever have to put up with that," he said, his voice low and steady. "Not from anyone. You understand." She nodded. "Good." He put the truck back in gear and pulled onto the road again. "Then here's what we're going to do." Jessica's house was exactly what Maya had expected. A sprawling mansion in the nicest part of town, with a perfectly manicured lawn and a fountain in the driveway. It looked like something out of a magazine. Captain Carter parked on the street and turned off the engine. "Stay here." Maya frowned. "What are you going to do?" "Talk." He got out of the truck and strode up the driveway, his posture straight, his movements deliberate. Maya watched as he rang the doorbell. A moment later, Mrs. Lockwood answered, her expression shifting from polite confusion to outright hostility when she saw who it was. Even from the truck, Maya could see the way her father stood his ground, his voice too low to hear but his presence impossible to ignore. The conversation didn't last long. Mrs. Lockwood's face turned red, then pale. She slammed the door. Captain Carter walked back to the truck like nothing had happened. Maya stared at him. "What did you say to her?" He started the engine. "Enough." The next morning, Ridgewood High was buzzing. Maya walked into school with her head held high, her father's words from the night before ringing in her ears. Asterisk, you don't back down. You don't apologize for existing. Asterisk. Jessica and her friends were huddled by the lockers, their usual spot. But for the first time, they didn't look smug. They looked nervous. Jessica met Maya's eyes for a split second before looking away. Maya didn't smile. She didn't gloat. She just walked past them like they were nothing. And for the first time in a long time, she believed it. The whispers started before Maya even reached her locker. Students who had never so much as glanced her way before were now staring openly as she walked down the hall. Some looked curious. Others, uneasy. A few even offered hesitant smiles. Jessica and her usual group were nowhere to be seen. Maya twisted the combination lock, the metal cool under her fingers. She half expected another confrontation, another snide comment, but the hallway around her remained quiet. Too quiet. A throat cleared behind her. Maya turned to find a girl from her chemistry class. Lena, she thought her name was, hovering awkwardly. Lena was petite, with round glasses and a mess of curly hair always escaping its ponytail. They'd never spoken beyond lab assignments. "Hey," Lena said, shifting her weight from foot to foot. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry." Maya blinked. For what? For not saying anything before. Lena's voice dropped. "I saw what Jessica and them were doing to you. I should have said something." Maya studied her face, looking for any sign of mockery, but Lena's expression was open. Guilty, even. "Why didn't you?" Lena winced. "Same reason no one else did, I guess. Jessica's dad basically owns half the town. Cross her, and suddenly your parents are getting audited or your little brother loses his spot on the travel team." She shrugged. Not an excuse, just how it is here. Maya thought about that. About how fear worked. How it didn't always look like cowering. Sometimes it looked like silence. Like looking the other way. Before she could respond, the first bell rang. Lena hesitated. "If they mess with you again, you don't have to deal with it alone, okay?" Maya nodded, something tight in her chest loosening just a little. Principal Higgins called Maya into his office during third period. The walk there felt longer than usual. Every scenario played through her mind. Expulsion, suspension, some new form of punishment the Lockwoods had concocted overnight. But when she stepped inside, Principal Higgins wasn't alone. A woman in a sharp gray suit stood by the window. She turned when Maya entered, her smile professional but not unkind. "Maya Carter? I'm Attorney Dawson. I represent your father in civilian matters." Maya's confusion must have shown, because the woman added, "I'm here to ensure the school handles this situation appropriately." Principal Higgins looked like he'd swallowed something sour. "Ms. Dawson has raised some concerns about our handling of student welfare." Attorney Dawson's smile didn't waver. "What Principal Higgins means is that we've presented evidence of ongoing harassment the school failed to address. Federal civil rights violations carry significant penalties, as I'm sure the school board will be interested to learn." Maya sat very still, processing. Her father hadn't just confronted the Lockwoods. He'd brought in legal firepower. Principal Higgins cleared his throat. "Moving forward, we'll be implementing stricter anti-bullying protocols. Jessica Lockwood will serve a 3-day suspension for her role in yesterday's altercation." Attorney Dawson raised an eyebrow. "Starting when?" "Today," Higgins said quickly. "And all teachers have been instructed to watch for any further incidents." Maya almost laughed. Yesterday, she'd been the one facing punishment. Now, the adults were scrambling to cover their mistakes. Attorney Dawson handed Maya a business card. "If anything else happens, anything at all, you call me immediately." "Understood." Maya took the card, the weight of it solid in her hand. "Understood." The cafeteria at lunch was a study in shifting dynamics. Jessica's usual table sat half empty, its remaining occupants casting nervous glances around the room. Other students who'd once flocked to them now kept their distance. Lena waved Maya over to a table near the windows. "Saved you a seat." Maya hesitated only a moment before joining her. As she sat down, something remarkable happened. A boy from her math class, one who'd laughed along with Jessica's crew before, nodded at her. Another girl asked if she wanted to study together for the upcoming history test. No grand declarations. No dramatic apologies. Just small, quiet acknowledgments that the rules had changed. Lena nudged her tray closer. "Told you." Maya picked up her fork, the knot in her stomach easing for the first time in months. The 3 days of Jessica's suspension passed in an uneasy calm. Maya walked the halls without the usual tension in her shoulders, ate lunch without watching her back, even found herself laughing with Lena during their shared study hall. It felt almost normal, which was why she should have known it wouldn't last. Jessica returned on a Thursday morning, her entrance carefully timed for maximum visibility. She strode through the front doors flanked by 2 of her most loyal followers, her blonde hair perfectly styled, her designer backpack slung carelessly over one shoulder. The whispers started immediately. Maya saw her first in the hallway between second and third period. Their eyes met for a fraction of a second before Jessica looked away, her expression unreadable. No sneer, no smirk, just nothing. That was the first warning. The second came at lunch. Lena was mid-sentence about their chemistry project when the cafeteria doors burst open. A group of junior boys tumbled in, their voices loud with excitement. "Did you see it?" one of them crowed, holding up his phone. "See what?" someone asked. The boy grinned. "Check your inbox. Someone just blasted the whole school with it." All around the cafeteria, phones buzzed. Maya's did too, a notification from an unknown sender with a video attachment. Lena frowned at her screen. "What is this?" Maya's thumb hovered over the play button. Something cold slithered down her spine. She knew. Even before she pressed it, she knew. The video was shaky, clearly filmed on a phone. It showed the fight from last week, but edited, cut to make it look like Maya had attacked Jessica unprovoked. The part where Jessica kicked her backpack? Gone. The months of harassment leading up to it? Erased. Worst of all was the caption. Scholarship psycho attacks innocent girl. Guess violence runs in the family. The cafeteria noise seemed to fade around her. Maya's hands went numb. They'd gone after her father now. Lena grabbed her wrist. "Don't let them get to you. Everyone knows this is bullshit." But did they? Maya scanned the room. Some students were looking at her with sympathy. Others, the ones who'd only started talking to her after Jessica left, were already edging away. At the center of it all, Jessica sat at her usual table, sipping a soda like nothing had happened. But when she caught Maya looking, she smiled. Small, satisfied. This was her play. Not fists, not insults. Poison. Maya barely heard the rest of her classes. The video seemed to pulse in her pocket like a living thing, its malice seeping into everything. By final bell, the damage was clear. The tentative friendships she'd started forming had cooled overnight. People still spoke to her, but the easiness was gone. She was almost to the parking lot when she heard running footsteps behind her. "Maya, wait up!" Lena skidded to a stop, her cheeks flushed. "You can't let them win," she panted. "That video doesn't matter," Maya finished for her. But it did. They both knew it. Lena hesitated, then dug in her backpack. "Here." She thrust a flash drive into Maya's hand. Security footage from the day of the fight. The whole thing, unedited. "My cousin works in the office." Maya stared at the small plastic rectangle. "Why are you helping me?" "Because someone should have helped you months ago," Lena said simply. Captain Carter was waiting in the truck when Maya finally left the school. He took one look at her face and knew. "Show me," he said. Maya handed over her phone. Watched as her father's expression hardened with each second of the video. When it ended, he was silent for a long moment. Then he pulled out his own phone and dialed a number. "Daniels? It's Carter. We need to move up the timeline." Maya frowned. "What timeline?" Her father pocketed his phone. "Pack your bags tonight. We're leaving tomorrow." "Leaving?" Maya's voice cracked. "But school isn't safe for you anymore." Captain Carter's jaw was set. "I've been offered a teaching position at West Point. We're moving to New York." The world tilted. Maya opened her mouth to argue, to protest, then stopped. The flash drive in her pocket seemed to burn against her thigh. She could fight this. But at what cost? Jessica had made her choice. Now Maya had to make hers. The house was too quiet that night. Maya sat on her bed, staring at the half-packed suitcase in front of her. Clothes were folded neatly inside, but her hands had stopped moving about 20 minutes ago. The flash drive Lena had given her sat on her nightstand, catching the light every time she glanced at it. Downstairs, she could hear her father on the phone, his voice low but urgent, probably making arrangements for their sudden move. The military had taught him to be efficient. When a decision was made, action followed immediately. Maya picked up the flash drive, turning it over in her fingers. Running away felt wrong, not just because of the injustice of it, but because it meant letting Jessica win, letting her rewrite history. She stood abruptly, the decision solidifying in her chest. The stairs creaked under her weight as she descended. Her father was in the kitchen, his back to her as he spoke into his phone. "Understand that, but my daughter's safety comes first. We'll be on the first available." "I'm not going." Captain Carter turned. His eyes flicked from her face to the flash drive in her hand. "Maya, I'm not running." Her voice was steadier than she felt. "Not like this." Her father ended the call and set the phone down carefully. "What are you planning?" Maya took a deep breath. "I want to show you something first." She led him to the living room and plugged the flash drive into the TV. The unedited security footage played out on the big screen, every shove, every taunt, every moment leading up to the fight. When it finished, her father was silent for a long moment. Then he exhaled sharply. "That changes things." "It changes everything," Maya said. "But I don't just want to clear my name. I want to make sure no one else at that school goes through what I did." Captain Carter studied her face. "What do you need from me?" Maya told him. The next morning, Maya walked into Ridgewood High with her head held high. The whispers followed her as usual. But today, she didn't care. She had a plan. Lena intercepted her at the lockers. "You're still here. For now." Maya handed her a note. "I need you to do me one more favor." Lena read the note, her eyes widening. "Are you sure about this?" Maya nodded. "More sure than I've been about anything." The school assembly had been called last minute, an emergency anti-bullying seminar, according to the announcements. Students filed into the auditorium grumbling, most assuming it was just another boring lecture. Jessica and her friends took their usual seats near the front, looking smug. When she spotted Maya, she smirked and turned to whisper something to the girl beside her. Principal Higgins stepped onto the stage, his expression grim. "Before we begin, we have a special presentation." The lights dimmed. The screen behind him flickered to life, and the unedited security footage began to play. Gasps rippled through the auditorium as the truth unfolded. Jessica's initial provocation, the months of harassment condensed into a few damning minutes. The video didn't stop at the fight. It continued, showing Jessica and her friends laughing about it afterward, bragging about how they'd put the scholarship kid in her place. The screen went dark. Silence. Then Principal Higgins cleared his throat. "This behavior is unacceptable at Ridgewood High. Effective immediately, Jessica Lockwood is suspended pending further disciplinary review. Any students found to have participated in or encouraged this harassment will face similar consequences." The uproar was instant. Jessica shot to her feet, her face scarlet. "You can't do this. My father." "We'll be hearing from our lawyers," Principal Higgins said firmly. "Now please exit the auditorium." All eyes followed Jessica as she stormed out, her entourage trailing behind her. The second the doors slammed shut, the whispers exploded. Maya stayed in her seat, her heart pounding. It was over. Really over. Then she felt a tap on her shoulder. Lena grinned at her. "So, still leaving?" Maya smiled back. "Not anymore." The fallout from the assembly spread through Ridgewood High like wildfire. By lunchtime, Jessica's usual table sat empty. Her remaining followers scattered to other corners of the cafeteria. Teachers watched the halls more closely, quick to intervene at even the hint of conflict. The school had changed overnight. Not perfect, but different. Maya sat with Lena at their new usual spot by the windows, picking at her food. The victory should have felt sweeter, but something nagged at her. "You okay?" Lena asked around a mouthful of sandwich. Maya shrugged. "Just thinking about how easy it was." "What do you mean?" All it took was one video. One adult actually paying attention. Maya pushed her tray away. Why did it have to get this bad before anyone did anything? Lena didn't have an answer. The cafeteria doors swung open. A hush fell over the room as Jessica walked in, alone. Her usual confidence was gone. Her shoulders hunched. She kept her eyes down as she grabbed a tray and got in line. Maya watched her. The girl who'd made her life hell for months now looked small, broken. Part of her wanted to feel satisfaction at that. Another part remembered what her father had said about cycles, how they only ended when someone chose to stop them. She stood up. Lena grabbed her wrist. "What are you doing?" Maya didn't answer. She crossed the cafeteria, stopping a few feet from where Jessica stood frozen at the drink machine. For a long moment, they just looked at each other. Then Maya held out a hand. "Truce." Jessica's eyes widened. "Why would you?" "Because I'm tired," Maya said simply. The entire cafeteria seemed to hold its breath. Jessica stared at the offered hand like it was a trick. Then slowly she reached out. Not to shake, but to take the soda Maya had grabbed from the machine beside them. "Not yet," she muttered. "But, thanks." It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't even friendship. But it was a start. Captain Carter was waiting at the pickup zone when school let out. Maya slid into the passenger seat, bracing for questions about how her day went. Instead, her father said, "We need to talk." The seriousness in his voice sent a chill down her spine. "What's wrong?" He waited until they were on the road to answer. The Lockwoods filed a complaint with the school board, claimed the video release violated their daughter's privacy. Maya's stomach dropped. "What does that mean?" "Nothing, legally. But..." He tightened his grip on the wheel. "They also contacted my commanding officer." The pieces clicked. "They're trying to get you in trouble." Captain Carter's mouth quirked. "They're trying. Problem is, I followed protocol, reported the harassment through proper channels. The video was obtained legally." He glanced at her. "But this isn't over. People like the Lockwoods don't quit when they're losing. They double down." Maya thought about Jessica in the cafeteria, the way she'd looked at Maya like she was speaking a foreign language when she offered peace. "What do we do?" Her father exhaled. "That's what I wanted to talk to you about. The teaching position at West Point. It's still available." The unspoken question hung between them. Maya looked out the window at the passing streets. She'd fought so hard to stay, to prove she belonged. But at what cost? "Can I think about it?" she asked quietly. Captain Carter reached over and squeezed her hand. "Take all the time you need." That night, Maya lay awake staring at the ceiling. The house creaked around her, familiar and safe. Leaving would mean starting over. New school, new friends, new challenges. But maybe that wasn't such a bad thing. Her phone buzzed. A text from Lena. "You okay?" Maya smiled. However this ended, she'd gained something precious. Someone who'd stood by her when it mattered. That wouldn't change, no matter where she lived. She typed back. "Yeah, I think I am." The letter arrived on a Tuesday morning. Maya almost missed it among the usual stack of bills and advertisements. But the official-looking envelope caught her eye. The return address read, "Office of the Superintendent, Ridgewood School District." Her fingers trembled slightly as she tore it open. Inside was a single sheet of paper with a short, formal paragraph stating that after reviewing all evidence, the school board had determined Jessica Lockwood would be transferred to another district effective immediately. Additionally, new anti-bullying measures would be implemented district-wide, including mandatory training for staff and anonymous reporting systems for students. Maya read it twice before it fully sank in. They'd actually done it. Held someone accountable. She was still staring at the letter when her father came downstairs, already dressed in his uniform for his morning meeting. "Good news?" he asked, nodding at the paper in her hands. Maya handed it to him wordlessly. Captain Carter scanned the contents, his expression unreadable. When he looked up, there was something like pride in his eyes. "You did this." "We did this," Maya corrected. Her father hesitated, then set the letter on the table. "About West Point." "I'll go." The words came out easier than she'd expected. Captain Carter blinked. "You're sure?" Maya nodded. I'm not running away. I'm choosing something better. She thought about all the fights still ahead, not just hers, but every kid who'd ever felt powerless. Maybe at a new school, I can help make sure no one else has to go through what I did. Her father pulled her into a hug, his uniform buttons pressing against her cheek. Proud of you, kid. The last week at Ridgewood High passed in a blur. To Maya's surprise, several teachers pulled her aside to wish her well, even one she'd never spoken to before. Mrs. Reynolds, the stern history teacher, actually teared up when Maya said goodbye. It takes courage to stand up like you did, she said, pressing a worn copy of To Kill a Mockingbird into Maya's hands. Don't lose that. Lena took the news hardest. Who's going to keep me from failing chemistry now? She joked, but her eyes were shiny. Maya hugged her tight. You'll be fine. You're stronger than you think. On her last day, Maya stopped by the main office to return her library books and turn in her student ID. As she was leaving, she nearly collided with Jessica, who was being escorted out by her mother after clearing out her locker. They stared at each other for an awkward moment. Jessica spoke first. You're leaving. Moving, Maya said. My dad got a new job. Jessica's mother tugged her arm impatiently, but Jessica shook her off. Look, about everything. You don't have to apologize, Maya said. I wasn't going to. Jessica's attempt at her old smirk fell flat. But, good luck, I guess. Maya nodded. You too. And that was that. The house in New York was smaller than their old one, but it had a backyard with real grass and a porch swing that creaked when you rocked it. Maya's new room faced east, so the morning sun streamed in golden and warm. On her first day at West Point High, Maya dressed carefully. Jeans without holes, a plain blue t-shirt, her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. No armor, just herself. Captain Carter waited by the door with his keys. Ready? Maya took a deep breath. Yeah. As they pulled out of the driveway, her father reached over and squeezed her hand. Remember, fresh start. Maya looked out the window at the unfamiliar streets, the towering trees, the other kids walking to school. For the first time in a long time, she wasn't afraid. Whatever came next, she could handle it. The hallways of West Point High buzzed with the usual first-day chaos. Students reuniting after summer break, locker doors slamming, teachers calling out directions over the din. Maya moved through the crowd, her schedule clutched in one hand, trying to ignore the curious glances sent her way. Being the new girl always drew attention, but at least here no one knew her history. Her locker was on the second floor near a large window overlooking the football field. As she twisted the combination lock, something fluttered to the floor, a small, folded note. Maya picked it up, glancing around to see if anyone was watching. The hallway had emptied slightly as students headed to their first classes. She unfolded the note. The handwriting was neat but unfamiliar. Asterisk, welcome to West Point. Watch your back. Asterisk. Maya's stomach dropped. Was this some kind of joke? A coincidence? She scanned the hallway again, but no one seemed to be paying her any special attention. Shoving the note in her pocket, she grabbed her books and hurried to first period. The classroom was already half full when she arrived. A dark-haired teacher with glasses looked up from his desk as she entered. Ah, you must be Maya Carter. I'm Mr. Alvarez. Here's your syllabus. Find a seat anywhere. Maya chose a desk near the middle, not wanting to draw more attention by sitting in back or front. As she settled in, the girl beside her leaned over. You're the army kid, right? Maya tensed. How did you? My dad's stationed at the academy too, the girl said, offering a smile. I'm Tessa. We moved here last spring. Before Maya could respond, the classroom door swung open, and a boy sauntered in. Tall, with close-cropped hair and a confident stride, he carried himself like someone used to being noticed. Several students called out greetings as he passed. That's Liam, Tessa whispered. His dad's some big-shot colonel. Thinks he owns the school. Liam slid into the seat directly in front of Maya and turned around. New girl, he said, not unkindly. Word of advice? Don't sit with Tessa at lunch unless you want to be bored to death. Tessa rolled her eyes. Ignore him. He's harmless. Maya forced a smile, but her mind was still on the note in her pocket. Was this Liam somehow involved? Or was it just some weird initiation prank? Mr. Alvarez clapped his hands. All right, let's get started. First unit, the American Revolution. Lunch period found Maya hesitating outside the cafeteria, scanning the room for Tessa. She spotted her near the windows, sitting with a mixed group of students. Taking a deep breath, Maya started forward, only to collide with someone stepping out of the lunch line. A tray of food went flying, splattering spaghetti across the floor. "Nice going, newbie," a voice said. Maya looked up into the face of a girl with sharp features and icy blonde hair pulled into a tight ponytail. The girl's friends snickered behind her. "I'm sorry," Maya said automatically, bending to help clean up the mess. "I didn't see you." "Obviously." The girl stepped over the spilled food. "Just watch where you're going next time." As she walked away, Tessa appeared at Maya's side with a handful of napkins. "That's Avery. She and Liam have this weird rivalry going on. You just got caught in the crossfire." Maya wiped sauce off her shoes, her earlier unease growing. First the note, now this? Maybe her fresh start wasn't going to be as clean as she'd hoped. The rest of the day passed without incident, but Maya couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every time she turned a corner, she half expected to find someone waiting. By final bell, her nerves were frayed. She was nearly to the parking lot when a voice called her name. "Maya! Wait up!" Liam jogged to catch up with her. "Listen, about Avery earlier. Don't take it personally. She's like that with everyone." Maya adjusted her backpack straps. "It's fine." Liam fell into step beside her. "So, your dad's Captain Carter, right? My dad mentioned him. Said he's got quite the reputation." Something in his tone put Maya on edge. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing bad," Liam said, holding up his hands. "Just interesting timing, him getting stationed here right after that whole thing with the Lockwoods." Maya stopped walking. "How do you know about that?" Liam's expression shifted, something calculating behind his easy smile. "Word gets around, especially in military families." He leaned closer. "Be careful, okay? People here, they notice things." Before Maya could respond, he walked away, leaving her standing there with a sinking feeling in her gut. The note, the spilled lunch, Liam's warning. It was all connected somehow. She just didn't know how yet. Captain Carter was waiting in his usual spot when Maya finally exited the school. She slid into the passenger seat, her mind racing. "How was your first day?" her father asked. Maya hesitated. She could tell him about the note, about Liam. But something held her back. After everything they'd been through, maybe she was just being paranoid. "It was fine," she said. "Different." Her father nodded, starting the car. "Give it time. You'll settle in." As they pulled away from the school, Maya glanced back at the building. Someone was watching from a second-floor window, a silhouette barely visible behind the glare of sunlight on glass. Whoever had left that note wasn't done with her yet. The second note appeared 2 days later, slipped between the pages of Maya's history textbook during gym class. She didn't notice it until she was back in her room that evening, flipping through the chapters assigned for homework. The paper was crisp and folded neatly, just like the first. Asterisk, they're watching you. Don't trust Liam. Asterisk. Maya's fingers trembled as she turned the note over, searching for any other clues. Nothing. Just those 7 words, written in the same precise handwriting. She sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the message until the letters blurred. Who was leaving these? And why single out Liam? He'd been the only one to warn her about Avery, unless that had been some kind of setup. A knock at her door made her jump. She hastily shoved the note under her pillow as her father poked his head in. "Dinner's ready," he said, then paused. "Everything okay?" Maya forced a nod. "Just tired. First week stuff." Captain Carter studied her for a moment before stepping inside fully. "Listen, I've been meaning to talk to you. There's something you should know about this posting." Maya's stomach tightened. "What?" He sat beside her on the bed, his usual confident posture slightly slumped, the way it only was when he was about to say something difficult. "The reason we got stationed here so quickly, it wasn't just routine." Maya waited, holding her breath. There were threats, he said finally. After the Lockwood situation went public, some unpleasant people took notice. The army thought it'd be safer for us to relocate somewhere with tighter security. Maya's mind raced. What kind of threats? Her father hesitated. Nothing concrete. Just chatter from groups that don't like the military intervening in civilian matters. Probably nothing, but we're here just in case, Maya finished. He squeezed her shoulder. I didn't want to worry you, but you deserve to know. Keep your eyes open, okay? Maya nodded, her fingers brushing against the hidden note beneath her pillow. She had a sinking feeling the warnings weren't just about some vague threats. Someone at West Point High already knew exactly who she was. The next morning, Maya arrived at school early, determined to get to her locker before the halls got crowded. She needed to see if another note appeared, and maybe catch whoever was leaving them. The hallway was empty except for a janitor mopping near the far exit. Maya kept her head down as she approached her locker, her pulse quickening. The door creaked open. No note. She exhaled, equal parts relieved and disappointed. Maybe it had just been a stupid prank after all. Looking for something? Maya whirled around. Liam stood a few feet away, his backpack slung over one shoulder. His usual cocky smirk was absent, replaced by an expression she couldn't quite read. Just my math book, she lied. Liam took a step closer. You're a terrible liar, Carter. Maya's hand tightened around her locker door. What do you want? Instead of answering, Liam reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. Maya's breath caught. It looked exactly like the others. Found this in my gym bag yesterday, he said, holding it out. Thought you should see it. Maya took the note warily, unfolding it with trembling fingers. Asterisk. Tell Maya the truth about her father. Or I will. Asterisk. Her head snapped up. What is this? Liam's jaw tightened. That's what I've been trying to figure out. Someone's playing games with both of us. Maya studied his face, searching for any sign of deception. He seemed genuinely unsettled, a far cry from the confident boy who'd teased her on the first day. What truth? She demanded. What do they think you know about my dad? Liam glanced down the empty hallway before lowering his voice. Not here. Meet me after school at the bleachers. Away from... He trailed off, his eyes darting toward the security camera in the ceiling corner. The warning bell rang, making them both jump. Just be there, Liam said, turning to leave. And don't tell anyone. Maya watched him disappear into the growing crowd of students. The note crumpled in her fist. Every instinct screamed that this was a bad idea. But if Liam really had answers... She shoved the paper in her pocket and headed to class, the weight of it burning against her leg all morning. The bleachers were deserted when Maya arrived after final bell. She perched on the bottom row, scanning the empty football field. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the grass, and a cool breeze carried the scent of freshly cut turf. Footsteps approached from behind. Maya turned as Liam dropped onto the bleacher beside her, his usual swagger replaced by nervous energy. He kept glancing over his shoulder as he spoke. My dad served with yours, he said without preamble. Afghanistan, 2 years ago. Maya blinked. Okay. There was an incident, Liam continued. A mission that went sideways. My dad never talks about it, but... He hesitated. People died. The wrong people. A chill ran down Maya's spine. What are you saying? I'm saying someone thinks your father screwed up. And now that you're here... Liam met her eyes for the first time. They're using you to get to him. Maya's stomach twisted. It couldn't be true. Her father was a good soldier. He followed orders, protected his team. He wouldn't. A sharp whistle cut through the air. They both turned toward the sound. A figure stood at the far end of the field, silhouetted against the setting sun. Too far away to identify, but something about their stance, perfectly still watching, sent a jolt of fear through Maya. Liam grabbed her arm. We need to go. Now. They ran for the parking lot, not looking back. Maya's heart pounded in her ears, her mind racing with questions. Who was after her father? And what had he really done? The house was dark when Maya got home, which meant her father was still at work. She locked the front door behind her, something she'd never bothered doing before. Her hands shook slightly as she flipped on the lights, half expecting to find someone waiting. The empty living room offered no answers, only the quiet hum of the refrigerator. Maya dropped her backpack on the couch and pulled out the crumpled note Liam had given her. Asterisk, tell Maya the truth about her father, or I will. Asterisk. She smoothed the paper against her knee, reading it for what felt like the 100th time. What truth? What had happened in Afghanistan? Her phone buzzed. A text from Liam. Did you make it home okay? Maya hesitated before responding. Asterisk, yeah. You. Asterisk. Asterisk, fine. Listen, my dad's acting weird. Asking if I've talked to you. Something's definitely going on. Asterisk. Maya chewed her lip. What should we do? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then appeared again before Liam's reply came through. Asterisk, meet me tomorrow before school. Library. 7 am. Asterisk. She was about to respond when headlights swept across the living room window. A car door slammed outside. Maya shoved her phone and the note into her pocket just as the front door opened. Captain Carter stepped inside, his uniform slightly rumpled, dark circles under his eyes. Hey kid. Didn't expect you to still be up. Maya forced a smile. Just finishing homework. Her father dropped his keys on the side table with a clatter. Everything okay at school? The question felt loaded. Did he know about the notes? About Liam? Maya's fingers twitched toward her pocket. Yeah, fine. Captain Carter studied her for a long moment before nodding. Good. I'm gonna hit the shower. Don't stay up too late. As he disappeared down the hall, Maya exhaled shakily. She'd never kept secrets from her father before. But if what Liam said was true, she pulled out her phone again and typed a quick reply to Liam. I'll be there. The school library was deserted at 7 a.m. Maya sat at a table in the far corner, her knee bouncing under the table. She'd barely slept, tossing and turning as her mind raced through possibilities. None of them good. The door creaked open. Liam slipped inside, his usual confident swagger replaced by tense movements. He dropped into the chair across from Maya, his eyes darting to the windows before speaking. My dad got a call last night, he said, keeping his voice low. He thought I was asleep, but I heard him talking about your father. Something about an investigation. Maya's stomach dropped. What kind of investigation? Liam shook his head. I couldn't hear everything, but he mentioned a village. And a cover-up. A cover-up. The words hit Maya like a physical blow. Her father didn't lie. He was the most honest person she knew. This doesn't make sense, she whispered. Liam leaned closer. There's more. I did some digging last night. The library door banged open. Both of them jumped. Avery stood in the doorway, her icy blonde ponytail perfectly in place despite the early hour. Her sharp eyes flicked between them before settling on Maya. Principal's looking for you, she said flatly. Maya's pulse spiked. Why? Avery shrugged. How should I know? Just delivering the message. She turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Liam? Your dad called the office looking for you too. Seems like everyone's real interested in you two lately. The door swung shut behind her. Maya and Liam exchanged a look. This wasn't a coincidence. We need to get out of here, Liam said. But the principal is probably just an excuse to separate us, Liam interrupted. He stood, grabbing Maya's arm. Come on. There's something you need to see. Liam led Maya through the empty halls to a rarely used stairwell in the east wing. He checked over his shoulder before pulling out his phone and showing her a grainy photo of a document. I took this from my dad's study last night, he said. Maya squinted at the small screen. The document was heavily redacted, but she could make out a few phrases. Operation Midnight Shadow, civilian casualties, Captain E. Carter's testimony disputed, ongoing review. Her throat tightened. What is this? Proof, Liam said grimly. Whatever happened over there, your father was involved. And someone wants revenge. Maya's hands shook as she handed the phone back. Why now? Why here? Before Liam could answer, a door slammed somewhere above them. Footsteps echoed on the stairs. Liam shoved his phone in his pocket. "We need to go. Now." They burst out of the stairwell into the now busy main hallway, nearly colliding with a group of freshmen. The warning bell rang, signaling 5 minutes until first period. "Meet me after school," Liam said urgently. "My house. My dad keeps files there. Maybe we can find more." Maya hesitated. Breaking into a colonel's home? That was insane. But she needed answers. "Okay," she agreed. "But if we're doing this, we need proof. Real proof." Liam nodded just as the final bell rang. As they separated for class, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching. She turned abruptly, scanning the crowded hallway. At the far end, partially hidden by the flow of students, stood a figure in a dark hoodie. Their head was turned toward her, face obscured, but Maya could feel their gaze like a physical weight. Then the crowd shifted, and they were gone. The colonel's house was eerily quiet when Maya arrived after school. Liam had texted that his father would be at a meeting until at least 7, giving them a few hours to search. Now, standing in the dimly lit foyer, Maya's palms were slick with sweat. "This way," Liam whispered, leading her down a hallway lined with framed military photos. The study door was locked. Liam pulled a key from his pocket with a grim smile. "Swiped it from my dad's keyring this morning." The lock clicked open. The study smelled like leather and cigar smoke, dominated by a massive oak desk. Liam went straight to a filing cabinet in the corner, testing the drawers. Damn. Locked. He glanced around before grabbing a letter opener from the desk. "Keep watch by the door." Maya hovered near the entrance, her ears straining for any sound of approaching cars. The ticking of an antique clock on the wall seemed impossibly loud. A muffled curse came from behind her. She turned to see Liam holding a thick manila folder marked Operation Midnight Shadow. Eyes only in red stamps. "Jackpot," he breathed, spreading the contents on the desk. Maya rushed over. The first page was a mission briefing with large sections blacked out, but the objective was clear enough. Asterisk, eliminate high-value target Hassan al-Farouk in suspected terrorist stronghold. Asterisk. Her father's name appeared several times in the personnel list. So did Liam's father's. Colonel James Walsh, mission commander. Liam flipped to the next page. After action reports. Maya's breath caught at the handwritten note in the margin. Asterisk, Carter disputed ROE. Refused order. 12 civilians confirmed Kia. Asterisk. Her vision blurred. Rules of engagement. Civilian deaths. Her father had refused an order? "Keep going," she managed. The next document was a formal complaint filed by Colonel Walsh against Captain Carter for insubordination. Then medical records. Psych evaluations for her father dated shortly after the mission. Liam turned to the final page. A recent memo from the Army Review Board. Maya's stomach dropped as she read. Asterisk, after re-examination of Operation Midnight Shadow evidence. Preliminary findings suggest possible rules of engagement violations by Colonel Walsh. Captain Carter's testimony corroborated by new eyewitness accounts. Formal hearing scheduled. Asterisk. The rest was redacted. A car door slammed outside. Liam's head snapped up. "Shit. That's my dad's car." They scrambled to shove the papers back into the folder. Liam barely managed to relock the cabinet and return the folder to its place before headlights swept across the study windows. "Out the back," Liam hissed, grabbing Maya's arm. They slipped through the kitchen just as the front door opened. Liam's father's voice carried through the house. And he wasn't alone. "Appreciate you coming on short notice, Captain. This won't take long." Maya froze. That voice. Her father was here. Liam yanked her toward the back door, but it was too late. Footsteps approached the kitchen. The door swung open. Colonel Walsh stood framed in the doorway, his sharp features hardening when he saw them. Behind him, Captain Carter's expression went from surprise to dawning comprehension as his eyes met Maya's. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then the colonel spoke, his voice dangerously calm. "What exactly are you two doing in my house?" The kitchen clock ticked loudly in the heavy silence. Maya's mouth had gone dry. She could feel her father's eyes on her, burning with questions she couldn't begin to answer. Colonel Walsh stepped further into the room, his polished boots clicking against the tile floor. "I asked you a question, Liam." Liam straightened his shoulders. "We were just looking for me," Captain Carter interrupted smoothly, moving past the colonel to stand beside Maya. His hand settled on her shoulder, warm and reassuring despite the tension radiating through him. "I told Maya I'd pick her up here after school." The colonel's gaze flicked between them, suspicion darkening his features. "In my private study?" A beat of silence. Maya's pulse pounded in her ears. Then her father squeezed her shoulder. A silent signal. "Actually, Colonel, we need to talk. About Midnight Shadow." The name of the operation landed like a grenade in the quiet kitchen. The colonel's face went carefully blank. "That's classified." "Not anymore." Captain Carter's voice was steel-wrapped in velvet. "The review boards made their decision. You're being recalled to Washington for questioning next week." Liam made a small noise of surprise. The colonel didn't even glance at his son. His attention remained locked on Maya's father. "This is hardly the place." "It's exactly the place," Captain Carter interrupted. "Since you've apparently dragged our children into it." Maya's breath caught. How much did her father know? The colonel's jaw tightened. He turned abruptly to Liam. "Upstairs. Now." Liam hesitated, his eyes meeting Maya's in silent apology before obeying. The kitchen seemed to grow smaller with just the three of them remaining. Captain Carter exhaled slowly. "Maya, wait for me in the car." She didn't move. "Dad. Now." The uncharacteristic sharpness in his tone startled her into motion. She cast one last look at the colonel. His face was a mask of barely contained fury, before slipping out the back door. The evening air was cool against her flushed skin. Maya leaned against her father's car, trying to process everything she'd seen in those files. Her father had disobeyed orders. There were civilian deaths, and now someone was after them because of it. The back door slammed. Raised voices carried through the thin kitchen window. Maya edged closer, catching fragments of the heated exchange. "Crossed the line bringing my family into this." Her father's voice, raw with anger. "You crossed the line in that village," the colonel shot back. 12 good men died because of your hesitation. 12 civilians, women and children. A cabinet door banged shut. They were collateral damage in a war zone. And now you've poisoned my own son against me with your... The voices dropped too low to hear. Maya strained closer just as the kitchen window lit up with the glow of a phone screen. Someone had received a call. Then her father's voice, clear and cold. "You set this up." Maya's breath caught. "Set what up?" The back door flew open. Captain Carter strode out, his face grim in the fading light. He didn't speak until they were both in the car with the doors locked. "Did you read the files?" he asked without preamble. Maya swallowed. "Some of them." Her father started the engine. "Then you know why we're in danger." As they pulled away from the colonel's house, Maya watched the kitchen window in the side mirror. Colonel Walsh stood there, phone pressed to his ear, staring after them with an expression that sent a chill down her spine. The house was dark when they arrived home. Captain Carter moved through each room methodically, checking windows and doors before finally sitting Maya down at the kitchen table. Operation Midnight Shadow was a night raid on a suspected terrorist compound, he began, his voice low. Intel suggested high-value targets were meeting there. But when we breached, it was just families. Women. Kids. Maya's stomach twisted. What happened? Her father's hands clenched on the table. Colonel Walsh ordered the strike anyway. Said the intel could be wrong, but the location was still a valid target. I refused to give the go-ahead. He overrode me. The pieces clicked together. The civilian deaths. 12 innocent people. Captain Carter's eyes were distant, seeing something far away. I filed an official protest. Walsh claimed I'd hesitated under fire, put the team at risk. My word against his, until a local journalist dug up survivor accounts last year. Maya remembered the review board memo. That's why they reopened the case. Her father nodded. Walsh was facing demotion at best, court-martial at worst. Then the Lockwood situation went public, and suddenly we started getting threats. The notes at school, the person watching me, someone connected to Walsh. Maybe one of the men who was there that night. Her father reached across the table, gripping her hand. I should have told you sooner. I just wanted to protect you. Maya squeezed his fingers. She understood now. The colonel had orchestrated everything. The harassment, the notes, maybe even pushing Liam to get close to her. All to pressure her father into recanting his testimony. A sharp knock at the front door made them both jump. Captain Carter was on his feet instantly, motioning for Maya to stay put as he moved to the door. He peered through the peephole, then went very still. When he opened the door, Liam stood on the porch, his face pale in the porch light. They know, he said breathlessly. My dad just got a call. Someone's coming for you tonight. As if on cue, a car engine growled in the distance, growing louder by the second. The approaching engine's growl turned into a roar as headlights swept across the front windows. Captain Carter didn't hesitate. He grabbed Maya's arm and pulled her toward the back door. Liam, with us. Now. They burst into the backyard just as tires screeched out front. Maya's heart hammered against her ribs as they sprinted across the dew-slick grass. Her father yanked open the garage's side door and shoved them both inside before locking it behind them. The garage was dark except for the dim glow of a workbench light. Captain Carter moved quickly to a cabinet, pulling out a heavy black duffel bag. Dad, Maya started. Listen carefully, he interrupted, handing her the bag. There's a cabin 20 miles north, off Route 9. Keys are in the bag along with cash and supplies. Take Liam and go. Maya's stomach dropped. What about you? Her father was already at the garage's rear window, peering out. I'll lead them away. You two head through the backwoods to the gas station on Elm. Call a cab from there. Liam shifted nervously. Sir, I should stay with you. This is my fault. A loud crash came from the front of the house. The sound of splintering wood. Captain Carter's face hardened. No time. Keep her safe. He pressed a hand to Maya's cheek, his eyes fierce. Go. Now. Another crash. Closer this time. Maya wanted to argue, to scream, to refuse, but her father was already opening the back window. She grabbed Liam's wrist and climbed out into the cold night air. The woods behind their property were thick with shadows. Maya ran blindly, branches scratching at her arms and face. Liam stayed close behind, his breathing ragged. Somewhere behind them, shouts echoed through the trees. They didn't stop running until the gas station's neon sign glowed in the distance. Maya's lungs burned as they stumbled into the parking lot. She fumbled with the payphone, her fingers shaking as she dialed the cab company. Liam paced nearby, running both hands through his hair. This is insane. My father wouldn't. He couldn't have. Maya slammed the phone down. He did. The cab arrived 15 minutes later. Maya gave the driver directions to the cabin, her voice steadier than she felt. As they pulled away from the gas station, she saw flashing blue lights turning onto her street. Too late. Whoever had come for them would find an empty house. The cabin was small and musty, clearly unused for months. Maya flipped on the lights, revealing a single room with a kitchenette, a sagging couch, and a loft bedroom. Liam collapsed onto the couch, his head in his hands. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. Maya unzipped the duffel bag with numb fingers. Inside were stacks of cash, a handgun, 3 burner phones, and a map with the cabin's location circled in red. Her father had prepared for this. She pulled out one of the phones and dialed his number from memory. It rang once before going to voicemail. Damn it! Maya threw the phone onto the counter. Liam looked up, his eyes red-rimmed. What now? Now we wait. Maya sank into a rickety chair, the weight of the night pressing down on her. And figure out who's really behind this. Because one thing didn't add up. If Colonel Walsh wanted to silence her father, why send goons to their house? That would only draw more attention to the case. Unless... Maya grabbed the phone again. We're missing something. Liam frowned. Like what? Like who tipped you off about the attack? She studied his face. Who called your father? Liam opened his mouth, then closed it. His brow furrowed. I don't know. He just said they were coming. Maya's skin prickled. There was someone else in play here. Someone neither of them had accounted for. The burner phone rang. They both froze. Maya snatched it up, her throat tight. "Hello." Static crackled for a long moment before a distorted voice spoke. "You're not safe yet." Maya's blood ran cold. "Who is this?" "The Colonel's just the beginning," the voice continued, ignoring her question. "Check the bag." The line went dead. Maya dropped the phone like it had burned her. With trembling hands, she appended the duffel bag, scattering its contents across the floor. A small black device tumbled out, something that hadn't been there before. A GPS tracker. Liam sucked in a sharp breath. "Oh God, they followed us." Maya's head snapped up. Outside, twigs snapped under heavy footsteps. Someone was coming. The footsteps circled the cabin, slow and deliberate. Maya grabbed the gun from the floor, her hands slick with sweat. She'd never fired one before, but the weight of it in her palm was strangely comforting. Liam pressed himself against the wall near the window, peering through a crack in the curtains. "I see two of them, both armed." Maya's mind raced. They couldn't go out the front door. The back door led to a steep ravine, dangerous in the dark but maybe their only chance. A loud knock shook the cabin door. "Captain Carter?" A deep voice called out. "We know you're in there. Come out peacefully and no one gets hurt." Maya and Liam exchanged a glance. They thought her father was here. That bought them a few seconds. She motioned to the back door, holding up 3 fingers. "Ooh, 1. They moved silently across the creaky floorboards. Maya turned the knob slowly, wincing at the soft click. Cold night air rushed in as she opened the door just enough to slip through. A gunshot shattered the front window behind them. "Go!" Liam shoved Maya out the door. They stumbled down the rocky slope, branches whipping at their faces. Another shot rang out, splintering a tree trunk to their left. Maya's foot caught on a root, sending her sprawling. The gun flew from her grasp, disappearing into the underbrush. Liam hauled her up. "Leave it! Keep moving!" The ravine bottom was slick with runoff. Maya's shoes slid in the mud as they splashed through a shallow creek. Behind them, flashlights cut through the trees. Liam pulled her behind a massive oak. "We need to split up. You follow the creek north. There's a ranger station about 2 miles that way." Maya grabbed his arm. "What about you? I'll lead them the other way." His face was pale but determined in the moonlight. "They want me to now. Might as well use that." Another shout echoed through the woods, closer this time. Maya hesitated. Every instinct screamed not to separate, but Liam was right. They'd have a better chance apart. "Be careful." He squeezed her hand once before darting off into the trees, making just enough noise to draw pursuit. Maya waited until the flashlights veered after him before moving north along the creek bed. The cold water soaked through her shoes, numbing her feet. She lost track of time, focusing only on putting one foot in front of the other. The woods seemed endless. A loud splash made her freeze. Someone was following the creek, coming toward her. Maya crouched behind a boulder, her breath coming in short, silent gasps. The footsteps grew closer, slowed, stopped. A shadow loomed over her hiding spot. Before she could react, a hand clamped over her mouth. "Don't scream," a familiar voice whispered in her ear. "Avery." Maya twisted around, coming face to face with the last person she expected. Avery's usual icy composure was gone. Her blonde hair was tangled, her clothes torn, and there was a wild look in her eyes. She removed her hand from Maya's mouth but kept her voice low. "They're everywhere. We need to move." Maya recoiled. "Why should I trust you?" Avery's jaw tightened. "Because I'm the one who's been leaving you notes. And if you want to live through the night, you'll come with me right now." The pieces clicked together with dizzying speed. Avery had been trying to warn her. Avery knew something. A shout echoed from further down the creek. Avery grabbed Maya's wrist. "Now or never, Carter." They ran. Avery led them to a hunting blind perched high in an oak tree. The wooden platform was cramped and smelled of mildew, but it was hidden from view below. Maya pressed her back against the rough wood, trying to steady her breathing. "Start talking." Avery kept her eyes on the forest below. My brother was in Afghanistan, part of your father's unit. Maya's stomach dropped. The raid. He followed orders. Avery's voice was hollow. Came home in a body bag 6 months later. Official report said suicide. I knew that was bullshit. Moonlight filtered through the leaves, casting shifting shadows across Avery's face. I started digging. Found letters he'd sent to my aunt. Pages and pages about what really happened that night. About the colonel's orders. About your father trying to stop it. Maya's head spun. So you came after me? No, Avery hissed. I came to West Point because my aunt lives here. Then I heard the colonel's son went to your school, and you were new. I thought if I could get close. To what? Get revenge. To get proof. Avery's eyes flashed. My brother's name deserves to be cleared. So do all those dead civilians. But the colonel has friends everywhere. When I realized someone else was after you, someone dangerous, I tried to warn you. Below them, a twig snapped. They both froze. Flashlight beams swept through the underbrush. Maya counted 3 men moving methodically through the trees. One paused directly beneath their hiding spot, his radio crackling. Still no sign of the girl or Walsh's kid. Carter got away at the house too. A gruff voice responded through the static. Keep looking. And remember, the captain's not to be touched. Boss wants him alive. The men moved on. Maya's mind reeled. If they weren't the colonel's men, whose were they? And why spare her father? Avery seemed to be thinking the same thing. This just got a lot more complicated. Maya studied Avery's profile in the dim light. She'd spent months thinking this girl was her enemy. Now they were hiding together in a tree, both pawns in a much larger game. We need to find Liam, Maya said finally. Avery nodded. And then we need to find out who's really pulling the strings. The first gray light of dawn filtered through the trees as Maya and Avery climbed down from the hunting blind. Every muscle in Maya's body ached from hours of tense stillness. Avery landed softly beside her, scanning the woods with military precision. We should head east. Liam would have tried to loop back toward town. Maya rubbed her stiff neck. How do you know so much about tracking? My brother taught me, Avery said shortly. Before he shipped out. They moved cautiously through the undergrowth, sticking to thick brush where their footsteps wouldn't leave marks. The forest was eerily quiet. No birds, no rustling leaves, just their own controlled breathing. Avery suddenly held up a hand, stopping Maya in her tracks. She pointed to a snapped branch, the fresh break glistening with sap, then to a partial shoe print in the soft earth. Someone came through here recently, she whispered. Not our guys. They were wearing boots. These are sneakers. Liam. They followed the trail to a shallow stream. The footprints disappeared at the water's edge, but Maya spotted a scrap of fabric caught on a thorn bush across the bank, the same color as Liam's hoodie. Avery knelt, examining the ground. He crossed here. But look. She pointed to deeper impressions in the mud. Someone followed him. Maya's pulse quickened. They had to hurry. The trail led them to an abandoned ranger station, its windows boarded up, paint peeling from the walls. The front door hung slightly ajar. Avery motioned for Maya to circle around back while she approached the front. Maya nodded, creeping along the side of the building, her ears straining for any sound. A muffled thump came from inside. She peeked through a crack in the boarded-up window. The interior was dim, but she could make out Liam slumped against the far wall, his hands tied behind his back. A figure in black stood over him, speaking quietly into a radio. Got Walsh's kid. Still no sign of the girl. Maya ducked down, her mind racing. These weren't the same men from last night. Different voices. Different equipment. Who the hell were they? A twig snapped near the front of the building. Avery. The man inside tensed, drawing his weapon. Did you hear that? Maya had to act. No. She grabbed a rock and hurled it through one of the remaining intact windows. The crash sent the man spinning toward the noise, giving Avery the opening she needed to burst through the front door. Maya rushed in after her. The man barely had time to turn before Avery disarmed him with a brutal kick to the wrist. His gun skittered across the floor. Maya dove for it, her fingers closing around the cold metal just as the man lunged at her. The gunshot echoed through the small building. The man stumbled back, clutching his bleeding shoulder. Avery took advantage of his distraction to deliver a sharp blow to his temple, sending him crumpling to the floor. Liam stared up at them, his face pale. "What are you doing here?" Maya hurried to untie him. "Saving your ungrateful ass, apparently." The ropes fell away. Liam rubbed his raw wrists, eyeing Avery warily. "Since when are you two on the same side?" "Since we realized someone else is pulling the strings," Maya said. She turned to the unconscious man, searching his pockets. No ID, but she found a satellite phone and a folded photograph. The photo showed her father standing with 3 other soldiers in front of a village. Someone had drawn a red X over one of the faces. Avery peered over her shoulder. "That's my brother." She pointed to the crossed-out soldier, her voice tight. "And that's Al Farouk." Maya's breath caught. The supposed terrorist target from the raid. Except in this photo, he was shaking hands with her father like they were old friends. Liam made a strangled noise. "Oh my God! My father lied." Avery snatched the satellite phone. "We need to move. They'll have heard that shot." Maya stuffed the photo in her pocket, her mind reeling. Nothing about that mission had been what it seemed. And if her father had been framed? The pieces were falling into place, forming a picture more dangerous than she'd imagined. They ran for nearly an hour before finding shelter in a drainage tunnel beneath an old logging road. The concrete pipe was damp and smelled of mildew, but it was hidden from view. Avery fiddled with the satellite phone, trying to bypass its security. "If I can get into this, we might be able to trace who these guys are working for." Liam sat with his knees drawn up, staring blankly at the tunnel wall. "All this time, I thought your father was the liar. But mine. He set up that whole raid, didn't he?" Maya didn't answer. She was too busy studying the photograph. There was something familiar about Al Farouk's face, something she couldn't quite place. Avery suddenly stiffened. "Got it." She held up the phone, its screen now active. "Last number dialed is saved under boss." She hit call. The line rang once before a smooth voice answered. "Report." Maya's blood turned to ice. She knew that voice. Colonel Walsh. Avery's hand shook as she ended the call. This doesn't make sense. If he's their boss, why would they kidnap his son? Liam let out a hollow laugh. "Because I'm expendable. This was never about revenge. It's about cleaning up loose ends. And I just became one." Maya stared at the photograph again, at Al Farouk's face. Then it hit her. She'd seen him before. Recently. At West Point High. The mysterious figure watching her. The person who'd left the first note. It hadn't been Avery at all. "He's alive," Maya whispered. "Al Farouk is alive, and he's here." The drainage tunnel seemed to grow colder as Maya's words hung in the air. Avery snatched the photograph back, studying it with new intensity. "You're sure it's him?" Maya nodded, her fingers tapping nervously against the concrete. "The man watching me at school. Same scar above his eyebrow. I thought it was just some stalker, but it was the guy your father supposedly killed," Liam finished, his voice hollow. Avery turned the satellite phone over in her hands. "This changes everything. If Al Farouk's alive, then the whole raid was a setup," Maya interrupted. Her mind raced through the implications. "The colonel claimed they were taking out a terrorist, but if Al Farouk was working with my father..." Liam buried his face in his hands. "Oh God. My father didn't just make a mistake. He orchestrated a massacre." A distant engine rumbled overhead. They froze as tires crunched gravel on the road above them. The sound faded, but the tension in the tunnel didn't. Avery pocketed the phone. "We need to find your father, Maya. If Al Farouk's here, that means he's working with someone powerful enough to fake his death. And if they're after you, then they're using me to get to him," Maya finished. She turned to Liam. "Where would your father keep records? Something that proves what really happened." Liam hesitated. "There's a safe at our lake house. He goes there when he wants to be off-grid." Avery was already moving toward the tunnel exit. "Then that's where we start." The lake house was a 2-hour hike through dense forest. They moved cautiously, sticking to cover whenever possible. Maya's legs burned with exhaustion, but the adrenaline kept her going. As they crested a ridge, the house came into view, a modern structure of glass and steel perched on the water's edge. No lights, no cars in the driveway. Avery surveyed the property through binoculars. No visible guards, but that doesn't mean it's clear. Liam pointed to a boathouse partially hidden by trees. There's a side entrance through there. Old servants' quarters my dad converted into an office. They circled around, keeping to the tree line until they reached the boathouse. The door was locked, but Liam knew where his father hid the spare key, beneath a loose floorboard under the dock. Inside, the office was meticulously organized. Liam went straight to a framed painting of a battleship and swung it aside, revealing a wall safe. "Birth date," he muttered, spinning the dial. "Always uses my birthday." The safe clicked open. Inside were stacks of files, a laptop, and a small black notebook. Liam grabbed the notebook first, flipping through pages filled with cramped handwriting. "Here," he said, thrusting it at Maya. "Operation Midnight Shadow. The real report." Maya scanned the pages, her stomach twisting. The colonel's own words detailed how Al-Farouk had been an informant working with her father to expose a weapons smuggling ring, one involving high-ranking officials. The raid had been meant to silence them both. Avery peered over her shoulder. "This is bigger than we thought. If this got out..." A floorboard creaked upstairs. They froze. Someone was in the main house. Maya shoved the notebook into her waistband as Avery silently closed the safe. Liam motioned toward a back exit, but it was too late. Heavy footsteps descended the stairs toward the boathouse. The doorknob turned. Avery grabbed a fire extinguisher from the wall, positioning herself beside the door. Maya and Liam pressed against the wall, holding their breath. The door swung open. Avery swung the extinguisher, only to have it caught mid-air by Captain Carter. "Dad!" Maya gasped. Her father looked worse than she'd ever seen him, his uniform torn, a fresh cut above his eye, his knuckles raw. But his grip was strong as he took the extinguisher from Avery. "We need to go," he said urgently. "Now." Liam stared at him. "How did you find us?" Captain Carter's gaze flicked to the open safe. "Same way they will. The colonel's got tracking alerts on all his properties." As if on cue, headlights swept across the driveway above. Maya grabbed her father's arm. "Al-Farouk's alive. He's been watching me at school." Her father's face darkened. "I know." He ushered them toward the back door. "That's why we can't stay here." They slipped out just as car doors slammed upstairs. Captain Carter led them down to the water's edge where a small motorboat was tied up. "Where are we going?" Maya asked as they climbed in. Her father started the engine. "To end this." The boat roared to life, cutting across the moonlit water just as shouts erupted from the house behind them. Maya clung to the notebook tucked in her waistband, the weight of its secrets heavier than any weapon. The boat sliced through the black water, its engine a low growl beneath the sound of waves slapping against the hull. Maya clung to the railing, the wind whipping her hair across her face. Behind them, the lights of the lake house had shrunk to pinpricks in the distance. Captain Carter steered toward the opposite shore where dense forest met the water's edge. His eyes kept flicking to the rearview mirror mounted near the wheel. "They'll have boats of their own," he shouted over the engine. "We need to disappear before they organize pursuit." Avery crouched near the bow, scanning the shoreline with military precision. "There, that inlet. We can beach it and head inland." Maya moved to sit beside Liam, who was staring blankly at the notebook in his hands. The pages fluttered in the wind, revealing glimpses of his father's damning handwriting. "You okay?" she asked. Liam's laugh was hollow. "My father murdered 12 people to cover up a weapons deal. There is no okay." Before Maya could respond, the boat's engine sputtered. Once, twice, then died completely. Captain Carter cursed, yanking the starter cord repeatedly. "We're out of gas." The boat drifted, carried only by the current now. Maya looked back the way they'd come. In the distance, 2 sets of running lights had appeared on the water. Avery was already moving. Life jackets under the seats. "We swim for it." Maya helped distribute the jackets, her fingers fumbling with the straps. The water looked impossibly dark, the shore suddenly much farther away. Her father gripped her shoulder. "Stay close to me. The current's stronger than it looks." One by one, they slipped overboard. The cold hit Maya like a punch to the chest, stealing her breath. She kicked hard, following her father's silhouette as he cut through the water with powerful strokes. Something whizzed past her ear with a sharp ping. "Gunfire!" Avery yelled. "Dive!" Maya sucked in a breath and plunged beneath the surface. The underwater world was eerily silent, the gunshots reduced to faint pops. She swam blindly, lungs burning, until she had to surface. The pursuing boats were closer now, close enough to spot armed figures silhouetted against their running lights. Another shot rang out, splashing near Liam's head. Captain Carter changed course, angling toward a rocky outcropping instead of the shore. "There! Use the rocks for cover!" They reached the jagged boulders, gasping and bleeding from scrapes. The rocks provided temporary shelter, but their pursuers would circle around soon. Maya pressed against the cold stone, her teeth chattering. Now what? Her father was scanning the cliffs above them. "There's a cave system up there. If we can reach it." A new sound cut through the night, the deep thrum of helicopter blades. A searchlight speared down from the sky, illuminating the entire cove in harsh white light. Liam shielded his eyes. "We're dead." But the helicopter didn't hover over them. Instead, it banked sharply toward the pursuing boats, its loudspeaker blaring. "This is the FBI. Cease all hostilities and prepare to be boarded." Maya gaped as two more helicopters appeared, their lights pinning the boats in place. Armed agents fast roped down onto the decks below. Her father sagged against the rocks. "Right on time." Maya turned to him. "You called them before I found you at the lake house." He squeezed her shoulder. "I wasn't leaving anything to chance this time." As the FBI secured the scene, a smaller boat approached their hiding spot. The agent at the helm flashed a light. "Captain Carter?" "Special Agent Ruiz. We've got medical standing by." Avery was the first to move, hauling herself into the boat with practiced ease. Liam followed, his face unreadable as agents helped him aboard. Maya hesitated, turning to her father. "It's really over?" He pulled her into a quick, tight hug. "For us, yes. For the colonel and his associates." His smile was grim. "It's just beginning." As the boat carried them toward shore, Maya watched the unfolding operation. Agents swarming the lake house, the colonel being led away in handcuffs, Al-Farouk's lifeless body being zipped into a bag on one of the boats. She touched the notebook still tucked securely in her waistband. 12 innocent lives. Countless others affected by the weapons that had slipped through. All for greed. But not unpunished. Not anymore. The FBI field office buzzed with activity, agents moving purposefully between cubicles and interrogation rooms. Maya sat on a stiff couch in the waiting area, wrapped in a scratchy emergency blanket. The adrenaline had faded, leaving her exhausted down to her bones. Across the room, Liam spoke quietly with a stern-looking woman in a suit, probably a prosecutor or investigator. His shoulders were hunched, his usual confidence gone. Avery emerged from a hallway, her blonde hair still damp from the shower they'd been offered. She dropped onto the couch next to Maya. "They're processing our statements now," she said. "Your dad's in with the SAC." Maya nodded, watching Liam. "How's he holding up?" "About how you'd expect." Avery followed her gaze. "They're offering him witness protection if he testifies against his father." Maya's stomach twisted. She couldn't imagine that choice, turning against your own family, even when they'd done terrible things. The door to the main office opened, and Captain Carter stepped out with a gray-haired man in an FBI windbreaker. They shook hands before her father crossed to Maya. "We're free to go," he said quietly. "They've got everything they need from us for now." Maya stood, her legs unsteady. "What about Liam?" "He'll be okay." Her father guided her toward the exit. This isn't his first time making hard decisions. The morning air was crisp outside, the parking lot bathed in pale dawn light. A military sedan waited nearby, an enlisted soldier standing at attention beside it. Maya paused on the steps. "Where are we going?" "Home," her father said. Our real home. She blinked at him. West Point. He shook his head, opening the car door for her. I put in for a transfer weeks ago. Back to Fort Lewis, near Seattle. I figured after everything, we could both use a fresh start. Maya slid into the car, her throat tight. All those months of feeling lost, of being the new kid, of fighting just to exist, it was over. They were going home. As the car pulled away from the FBI office, she watched the sunrise paint the sky in streaks of gold and pink. The notebook with the colonel's confession was safely in federal custody now. Al-Farouk was dead. The weapons ring had been exposed. But as Maya glanced at her father's profile, the new lines around his eyes, the gray hairs at his temples that hadn't been there a year ago, she realized the cost. He caught her looking and reached over to squeeze her hand. What's on your mind, kid? Maya turned her palm up to grip his fingers. Was it worth it? All of it. Her father was silent for a long moment, watching the road ahead. 12 innocent people died because I couldn't stop that raid, he said finally. But because we kept fighting, hundreds more will live. Yeah, Maya. It was worth it. The certainty in his voice settled something inside her. Maya leaned her head against the window, watching the world speed by. They'd paid a price, but they'd won. And for the first time in a very long while, the road ahead looked clear. The rain tapped a steady rhythm against the windows of their new house near Fort Lewis. Maya sat at the kitchen table, her history textbook open but ignored in favor of the letter that had arrived that morning. The envelope bore the official seal of the United States Army. Her father entered, shaking water from his jacket before hanging it by the door. His eyes immediately went to the letter. That from the JAG office? Maya nodded, pushing it across the table. They want me to testify at the colonel's court-martial next month. Captain Carter picked up the letter, scanning its contents. His expression remained neutral, but his grip tightened slightly on the paper. You don't have to do this if you're not ready. I know. Maya traced the edge of the table with her finger. But I want to. The trial had been all over the news for weeks. The weapon smuggling, the cover-up, the innocent lives lost. Liam's testimony had made headlines, though he disappeared into witness protection immediately after. Maya wondered if he'd watched from wherever they'd hidden him as his father's reputation crumbled. Her father pulled out a chair and sat across from her. It won't be easy. The defense will try to discredit us. Bring up the fight at your old school, make it seem like you're prone to violence. That's bullshit, Maya snapped, then immediately regretted her tone. But her father just smiled faintly. Yeah, it is. But it's their job to create doubt. He tapped the letter against the table. You sure you're up for that? Maya thought about the months of harassment, the fear, the nights spent wondering if they'd make it through alive. Then she thought about the notebook, the colonel's own words condemning him. I need to do this, she said quietly. Not just for me. For everyone he hurt. Her father studied her for a long moment before nodding. Then we'll face it together. The rain continued its gentle patter against the windows as they sat in comfortable silence. Outside, the world moved on. Cars splashed through puddles on the street. Neighbors called greetings to one another. Life continued its ordinary rhythm. But inside that warm kitchen, something had settled between them. The battles weren't all fought yet, but they'd face what came next side by side. Maya reached across the table and took her father's hand. No words were needed. The storm had passed.